Remembering Our Spirits, May 1st, 2023, from the book Around the Year with Emmett Fox. Dealing with disharmony. It has been said, whoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a miting of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her that is divorced commits adultery. Matthew 31:52. We are told that in those days divorce was granted by the rabbinical law on the most trifling grounds. Married people who were not getting on together as well as they would have liked were prone to run away from that problem by obtaining an easy dissolution. Now we understand that no permanent happiness can be obtained in this way. As long as you are running away from your problem, you will continue to meet it in a new guise at every turn of the road. Just as in running from one business position to another, without first having brought about a change in consciousness, we find ourselves repeating the old conditions in a slightly different form. So, as a rule, people who divorce freely are apt to finish up as dissatisfied as they began. The general rule in truth is fight out your problem where you are with prayer. The general rule is still good for all conditions in life. Do not try to divorce or amputate the inharmony, but let it dissolve away of itself under God's guidance. I really dislike that verse from Matthew. It just doesn't resonate with me at all. I did not know that back in the day, when Jesus was walking around and the words were put in to create the Bible, that by rabbinical law people could dissolve their marriages really easily. I didn't know that. I just know that there was a time when it was much more challenging to divorce, and people married back in the 50s. Actually, you know what? I don't know. I have not done a deep dive into this, and I would just be spouting or sharing really surface information. Here's my experience today. Today, I got divorced in 1997. And the reason I got divorced is because my former husband had an affair. I found out about his affair by hiring a private detective, because what I began experiencing in our marriage was this intuitive insanity that something was wrong. So I hired a private detective. I found out that he was having an affair, and we ended up subsequently divorcing. Now, I don't give anyone permission to comment on my ex-spouse and how he showed up in our relationship. The only person you're responsible for is yourself and how you're showing up in your own relationships. So, no permission to speak about him. Now, I speak about myself. And there were times in my youth when I had boyfriends when I was not, what word am I looking for? When I was dishonest and was dating multiple people at a time that didn't know it. I will talk about my behaviors that I have corrected and no one else's. I'll talk about your behaviors that you need to correct, or that you aren't taking ownership of yet and are practicing being a victim and a blamer. However, I will not discuss anyone else's transgressions. People who want to live in giving their opinion and gossiping and judging other people are simply people who have yet to take full ownership of themselves. Yes, I believe this 100% of the time. That does not mean I agree with all behaviors that cause harm to individuals or that cause harm. I do not agree with those behaviors. However, I am responsible for my behaviors. And I was responsible for my child's behaviors when she was young. One of the things that I would never allow my daughter to do, she was never allowed to quit when some situation in her life got really hard. She had to stay in the hard situation and work through the hard, get back to a neutral place, however long that took, and then make a decision about the situation. That is also how I choose to live my life today. I take 100% full responsibility for how I show up in all of my relationships. I take 100% responsibility for all of my thoughts, for all of my words, and all of my behaviors. That's my job as a grown-ass woman in this world. And I suggest that is your job as well. Remember, Thales said, the easiest thing for mankind to do, or for man to do, is to give one's opinion. When asked what is the hardest thing for people, to know one's self. I know myself today. Now that doesn't mean if somebody says something mean or unkind or hateful about me or toward me that I can't get triggered and my feelings won't get hurt. Of course, I'm human. Sometimes my feelings do get hurt, but it's my job and my responsibility to take care of that part of myself that's been triggered. The other thing that I share all the time is be mindful of going to the hardware store for oranges. So for example, if I am seeking comfort from somebody who doesn't have the personal constitution of giving comfort, and I keep going to that person and going to that person and going to that person and not getting what I need, then my part is that I'm going to the hardware store for oranges and I need cancel. And I get and choose to be open to letting that person go and allowing the next best person to come into my life. The energy that I rely on and I consider to be my source, capital S source, is that energy of love inside of me. And I simply happen to use the word God. Remember, take the best for you and leave the rest. Everything I'm sharing is simply a share. Someone said to me one time, "Thanks for sharing, Sharon." I think that's hilarious. And also it keeps myself from taking myself too seriously. I'm simply sharing. You pick up and use the ideas and practices and tools and prayers, or don't. Have a blessed day.